Welcome to Class 3. Stop bugging me. Activity 1, Pair and Share. Activity 1, Pair and Share, was first presented in class. Here is an overview of the class session. Please see your curriculum for a list of items to prepare prior to this class. This can be found under the Prep Steps heading. Activity 1, Pair and Share. Activity 1, Pair and Share, was first presented in Class 1, Activity 2. So we'll begin this walkthrough with Activity 2. If you are new to the AKA Science curriculum or would like a refresher, please see that video guide for that class. Activity 2, Bee Pollinator Game. For this activity, you'll need the supplies listed on your screen and in your printed curriculum. This activity will be done individually. This activity is linked to a survey question, again as found in the printed curriculum. The goal of this activity is to investigate how pollinators pollinate. To begin, connect this activity to what students have learned in the last class. In the last class, students learned about seeds. Tell them that in this class, we will be learning about how bees and other pollinators help plants make seeds. For this activity, students will be using pipe cleaners and colored holly powder to model how pollinators move pollen from flower to flower. After they have constructed their bees, pass out a 10-ounce cup to each student. Students will hold the cup under their bees as they buzz around from flower to flower. With both their bee and their cup in hand, tell students that they are now officially pollinators. As pollinators, they must move around from flower to flower and pick up the pollen at the center of each flower. Instructions on how to set up the flower stations can be found under the Prep section of your printed curriculum. Flower stations consist of a printed flower and colored holly powder. At each flower station, have students set the circular end of the bee in the pollen powder and pick up a bead of nectar to slide onto the bee's stinger. After all students have visited every flower, students can put their bee in a Ziploc bag to take home. Activity 3, Blooming Flower. This activity is linked to a survey question as found in the printed curriculum. The goal of this activity is to simulate a blooming flower. Hand each student a blooming flower worksheet. Using the outlines provided on the worksheet, students will color their flower and cut it out. Hand each student a blooming flower worksheet. Using the outlines provided on the worksheet, students will color their flower and cut it out. Then students will fold their flower petals over the dotted lines so they overlap in the center. Pair each student and give each pair a small pan half full of water. Have students take turns floating their flower folded side up on the surface of the water. After observing what happens when folded flowers come into contact with the water, hand out a pencil and 2 quarter sheets of white paper to each student. Using these materials, have students design, decorate, and test their own blooming flowers. Let flowers dry before they go home. Save pans of water for the next activity. Activity 4, Fly Feed. This activity is linked to a survey question as found in the printed curriculum. The goal of this activity is to investigate how flies stick to surfaces. Hand each student a fly feet worksheet and a pair of scissors. Following the worksheet, students will first cut out the shape of the fly. Then, students will fold their fly body so the paper can stand up on its own. First, have them fold the fly's body in half on the dotted line, then unfold it. Next, fold all the legs on one side of the fly inward at the base. Then, fold each of those legs in half outwardly. Finally, repeat on the other set of legs. Now, the paper fly should be able to stand on its own. Once every student has folded their fly, pair students. Give each pair a plate and the pans of water used in the previous activity. Have the first student in each pair lightly touch the bottom of their fly's feet to the surface of the water, then press the fly's feet to the underside of the plate so the fly is hanging upside down. Flipping the plate, repeat with the second student. If there is leftover time, pass it to the students so they can construct and test their own gravity-defying insects. Leave the flies out to dry before students take them home in a Ziploc bag with the other damp items. Activity 5, Water Walker. This activity is linked to a survey question as found in the printed curriculum. The goal of this activity is to understand how water striders float. With students paired off, pass out a plastic rectangle and 3 half pieces of pipe cleaner to each duo. Inform students that they will use these materials to construct a water strider bug. In order to make their water striders, push 1 pipe cleaner through every 3rd slot in the piece of plastic. There are 9 slots. Bend both ends of each pipe cleaner downwards, then outwards in the middle. This should form a right angle away from the body. Have pairs take turns setting the insects feet down on the surface of water in the large pans and observe the results. Inform students that they will now try to do the same water strider experiments with wax-coated pipe cleaners. Give each pair a new piece of plastic, 3 pipe cleaners, a sheet of paper, 2 unwrapped half pieces of crayon. Have them
Activity 5, Daily Debrief. Activity 5, Daily Debrief, was first presented in Class 1, Activity 5. If you are new to teaching the AKA Science curriculum or would like a refresher, please see the video guide for that class.